Yo, what's up everybody? Swillow here, and today I'm going to be doing a little guide for Babylon's Fall. So this is going to be like a general tips guide. There's not a lot of information for this game right now, so I just want to drop this. This is basically going to be helpful if you're a newcomer, if you're still going through the campaign, or maybe if you're just now starting the end game. And maybe if you've been playing the game for a while, there might be some things I can teach you here. But first off, I'm all the way back out to the main menu because this is actually the first really, really important thing to talk about. Is this game lets you make multiple characters, or sentinels as it's called. And something really interesting is that when you make a new character, every single thing transfers between all your characters besides the character's actual levels. So you can see here, my Agavian is level 2, and my Houston, I don't even know how to say that, is level 20. But all the gear, all the loot, all the progress I've made counts for both characters. So it's important to make more characters after you've capped out, or if you just feel like doing it, because you can get more daily rewards. You can get more weekly rewards. All the different rewards you can get for each character. So let's say if I get all my daily rewards for one character, I can switch to another and get the daily rewards for those two. So it's really, really important because being able to get all the rewards multiple times gives you a huge boost in resources and battle points and all that stuff, ranking points. And it's also fun to just try the other characters. Each of the characters have different, or each of the factions have different mechanics to them, which just mixes up the gameplay a bit. So it's more fun to just try out all the different factions rather than sit on one faction. So let's get right into here. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is look at the equipment screen. So the equipment screen, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite ways to use weapon loadouts. Now, generally, one thing before I actually talk about this is there's a power rating. So if you see, the power rating I have here is 91. Basically, the way the power rating works is that it's based on all of the gear you have equipped. So all the gear kind of equals up to a power rating. And this power rating is important because if your power rating is below the power rating of a mission you're trying to do, you're, depending on how far below, if you're like 5 or more levels below, you'll actually do 0 damage. So you have to be like within a certain amount of power level rating as the mission you're doing. Also, if you're well above the power rating, then you're going to do increase the damage. So power rating is extremely important, sometimes more important than the gear you have equipped. So you should always be equipping gear based on power rating rather than what you like. I mean, maybe if it's within like a couple of levels of your overall power rating, you can stick with something, but you always want to keep getting new gear. Also, even more important is that in order to get your power rating higher, you have to keep raising the power rating in order to get better power rating gear to drop. Like if you just stay equipped with power rating 50 gear, you're not going to get better power rating gear. You're going to maybe get like 55 at most. But you have to keep cycling new equipment in. And for me, like, I don't even check skills anymore. For me, I literally just equip the highest power rating thing I have. So like you see right here, um, my other character is equipping this. Oh, this is one thing I didn't mention, but depending on what you have equipped on one character, if you want to use it on another character, you have to unequip it from that character before you switch to the other character. So that's one thing that's kind of annoying, but all the gear does transfer. So yeah, my other character is actually wearing all of my higher power level gear, but yeah, let's see. This is 93, so I don't even care what skills are on it, but I'm just gonna equip it because it's a higher power rating, so that I can keep getting higher power rating gear. So eventually, when you reach the power rating cap, then that's when you're gonna really start focusing on getting the skills and the actual like final weapons you want to use. But generally, while progressing, you want to keep equipping the highest power rating stuff you get. Now let's look at the actual weapons here, and let me give you some of my favorite ways to use these. So on the square button, this is the least used button for me. I don't know. For me, I just feel like the button doesn't really do a lot. but I haven't explored potential builds. Maybe I need to make a build more specialized around it. But the special attack is your light attack button. This is going to allow you to use quicker, um, more agile attacks, but I really just don't find them that useful in general. So I tend to stick a weapon here that I would only use in really niche cases, like maybe a ranged weapon. So just in case I fight enemies that are kind of in the sky or hard to reach with a melee weapon, I'll have a ranged weapon on my square button. So right now I have a staff. So I might use a bow, I might use a staff. Sometimes I'll use a sword or any other weapon. I'll use any weapon depending on the power rating, but it is nice if I have a ranged weapon here so that I can use it in those situations where a ranged weapon's ideal. So triangle is my most important button, or it's more important than square. This is where I equip the weapon that I really, really want to fight with most of the time. I just find the triangle button to be the best button in terms of main hand buttons. So much better than the square button. But the square button does have a little bit utility depending on if you have something like a sword. Like if you use sword or something, I find the square button can be good for the sword, but I still think it's better for triangle. So triangle is where I usually put hammer. Sometimes I'll use sword if I have a higher power rating sword. You can also use bow here, which is really strong. I don't use the staff or rods a lot. I feel like they're kind of hard to use, especially if you're playing solo. They're more suited towards party builds and stuff like that, but I haven't explored them that much. I just think that in general, the other weapons just feel so much stronger. So I tend to use hammer a lot. It's my absolute favorite weapon. And then sword in second and bow in third. Bow is extremely powerful though. For people who are playing this game, a lot of people do use like triple bow builds and stuff like that. It's a really cheesy way to be strong, but I don't necessarily feel like it's the strongest build. But it's hard to say what's going to be the strongest build. But it is very easy and cheesy to use if you like to use bow. Next up here on the spectral weapons. So the spectral weapons are the most important part of this game in terms of equipment and the combat in general. There's just so much you can do with spectral weapons. So the spectral weapons you choose tends to be the biggest influence in your gameplay. So right now I have hammer here. Hammer I don't use in general, but on technical mode I use it a lot. Hammer is absolutely insane on technical. Not so much on standard or power. Maybe not bad on power. I haven't tried it on power, but on technical mode, hammer is absolutely insane. And then sword. Sword is probably the most used spectral weapon for me. I think it's just like easy, kind of even lazy DPS. You just push the button and it just attacks, attacks, attacks. Of course, the sword doesn't really have any special properties like knockback or range or anything like that, but it's just like really reliable damage output. So I find putting sword is always a really helpful choice if you just want really easy damage output. And then over here, sometimes I will use bow on the L2. It's another weapon that you can charge similar to the hammer. Any weapon you can charge, like I'll put a rod, but I prefer bow. Bow is amazing damage output, and then I prefer hammer on technical mode because you can do some really cheap setups with technical mode hammer. And then sometimes you could take a double sword if you want. You could do a double sword. Double sword can be okay. You can have double bow, which is really strong. You could maybe run double hammer on technical. I think that would actually be pretty cheap. Staffs, staffs are kind of okay. I like staffs on technical, not so much on standard, but they can be all right. You can definitely run a staff on one of your buttons, but I definitely recommend having a sword. I find sword is so good to just have. It's an easy thing to use because the other weapons tend to be more setup oriented, like hammer and bow and stuff. You really have to charge them and time them and all that stuff, and sometimes it takes a bit too long to charge them or get to their strengths, and you just need like the sword to just be that easy damage. So you could also run shield here as well. I think actually when you're a beginner, running shield with like sword is such a strong combination until you learn how to effectively dodge enemy attacks. It's just so good for keeping enemies off of you while you're just learning the game and getting familiar with the game engine. And then over here with accessories, pretty much accessories are, I don't know, you don't get a lot of accessories in this game. Like I just haven't got many accessories at all. but you just kind of use what looks good, to be honest. Accessories are very scarce, and I don't really know the potential of them. And then, of course, with armor, like I said, I don't really have any amazing build ideas or things going on here yet, but I always just equip the highest power stuff. Generally, I think that what it seems like, some of the best kind of builds to run at the end game are going to be builds that are very crit hit based. So you're going to want builds crit hit, and then you're probably getting like SP and HP each critical you hit, or you're getting like modified damage. I've had like one weapon where if you land a critical, you deal triple damage, and if you don't do a critical, then you actually lose some health. Or I think it's if you land a critical, you heal like level 3 health, and then if you don't land a critical, you actually lose health. But if you have like a crit build running with that, you're just going to hit crits and you're going to be literally immortal. Like when I ran that build, that weapon, I was actually just immortal. I couldn't die. Like my health was always full. It was always filling up every time I hit everything. So there's definitely a lot of fun build potential, but I'm not really going to be able to talk about builds until I get to higher power rating, because right now I'm just focused on getting to a high power rating. So all those builds I was mentioning too, the weapon loadouts, I use to solo the game. I actually think like soloing the game is not too hard. It gets rough like in a couple of the last regions. There's a couple of missions that are pretty brutal, but I was able to solo the game pretty comfortably running sword on my R2, and then a common either shield or bow on my L2. And then I had hammer pretty much my whole campaign. Next up, let's see. Let me just look through all the menus here. So I was already talking about missions. If you switch your characters, you can do all of this stuff right here on all of your characters each day. Definitely worth doing. You get a lot of BP, you get rewards. Very important. And then if we look at the Gideon Coffin, so this is a mechanic you're going to unlock a certain distance into the game, about halfway I would say. And this is based around your level. So when you level up, you can get more GP to equip more coffin skills. So it kind of depends on the faction you're playing, but usually I think it's ideal to just focus on one or two skills. You may be tempted to want to try to spread into all of the skills, but it's just better to focus on one and get it as high as you can, and just really exploit the abilities of one of those. And then once you max that one out, you can put points into something else. And you can always switch this around at any time, so there's no commitment. It's a very low commitment thing. You can always be trying what you like more, but I tend to just feel like you should be focusing on maxing like one route out and then spreading into another, like one other route. It's usually not worth trying to build up more than two routes. And let's see what we got here. So let me go into a mission actually, and I'll show off some combat strategies I have. I actually have technical mode right now, and technical mode is pretty busted. It's actually OP. So let's see. Let's get in here. Oh, another fun thing here is boosters. So boosters literally only count. So you know, like you have, it says when you put it on, you have 60 minutes to use it. That time only applies while you're in the mission, which is just, I love it. I don't know, I've played a lot of live service games. I'm not sure if other live service games have did this before, but I actually love this. Like I put this booster on probably like a day ago, like last night when I was playing. I haven't played much today, but it's still fine. You still have it here. It doesn't disappear or anything like that. The booster only goes down based on your mission time. So when you're in a mission, the time you spend in the mission, that's how much time, that's when the booster goes down. It doesn't go down outside of the mission. It doesn't go away, anything like that. So definitely consider using boosters. You know, you might want to wait till in game when you're more efficient in how you're moving through stages, but don't be hesitant to use boosters, because I know for me, when I played other live service games, I would always be so hesitant to use this stuff until like I felt like I had like the perfect time to sit down and play. But it doesn't matter here. Just as long as it doesn't matter when you use it, it just matters how effective you are in each mission you're doing. So definitely use your boosters. Do not forget about those. Very important. So let's get in here. Let's get into a mission. So let's just pick a random, I don't know, skirmish here. Yeah, let's just forget the skirmish. It doesn't really matter. I'm not really going to play through it, but I just want to show you some sort of strategies that I use when I'm playing. Okay, so we're in the mission. Basically, when you're playing, you always want to be really playing around your spectral weapons. So you're attacking with the main hand. Let's say I'm attacking with triangle, and then I have my sword. I'm holding R2 to swing my sword while I'm attacking with triangle. Then I start holding L2 to charge my hammer while I'm swinging with triangle. Release the charge. So you want to like pay attention to the charge on your hammer, so you can release at the right time. And this is just really how you want to be playing the game, is you want to just be using as many options as possible simultaneously. So you want to be attacking with your main hand weapon, you want to be attacking with your R2, you want to be attacking, charging, whatever with your L2, you want to be releasing it all on timing, and that's like a really important thing. I think at first it might seem like a lot to manage, like pressing all these different buttons at a time, but it's really important to master that because it's going to make you so strong. And I was actually mentioning that I have technical mode. So technical mode, let's say if I do my 2 triangle here, I get a little flash. So when you see that little flash, I can actually press my my R2 or L2, my spectral weapon buttons, and get a charged attack. So you see the hammer right there? That was the just frame version of it. So that's what it looks like regularly. And here's what it looks like if I time it after a combo. So I get the charged version instantly. So that's the same thing as holding it down. So the thing that's really interesting about technical mode is basically you get charged attacks for free just by timing the combo. And what makes it even more cheap is that I can use the hammer regularly, and then I can go into the charge, like the technical follow-up. So this basically allows you to do impossible setups that you normally can't do, because normally if you swing the hammer and then you try to swing the hammer again, it's going to be uncharged, or you have to hold L2 to charge it. So I can actually like cheat the game in a way and just... So you see that I can go straight from a regular strike to a charge strike instantly. So I can get like a sort of setup like this going. So I'm holding R2, pressing triangle, and then I press that. So hold on, I messed that up. Let me get my SP back. So I'm doing triangle, and then what I can include into this is I can start holding R2, then I can start pressing L2, and then I can get the just frame attack. So I can be doing like all of those moves, and I can still get the just frame perk just as long as I press the spectral buttons at the same time as the little spark. So this actually allows you to get like unbelievably cheap damage output and combos and stun, like hit stun and all that stuff. It's so cheap. Let me kind of run in and fight some enemies real quick and show it off. Now, also just to mention, you're only going to get technical mode when you beat the campaign, and you're going to get power mode as well. So you're going to have standard mode, power mode, and technical mode once you beat the game. I haven't explored power mode too much, so I don't have a big opinion on it, but I feel like technical mode is actually just busted. It's a direct upgrade of standard mode, because you can just do everything you do in standard mode, but a lot more, like higher, like you can abuse that just frame mechanic. So yeah, if you see that there, I'm kind of overpowered for this level, so it's not like it's actually a hard thing, but you can just kind of see how I'm abusing that just frame mechanic to get the spectral weapons out. So let me run up here to one more battle. kind of show it off a little bit more. Getting like that charge, getting that instant charge on something like the hammer is so strong. Like, you see that damage I'm getting? Well, they put me to sleep. But that damage I'm getting and the knockdown as well. The hammer, like when you do the charge hammer, it knocks the enemies down into the ground, and you can generally chain that fast enough to where the enemies can just never can get up. So yeah, really, really strong. Let me actually show some, so I'm showing off some strategies that you can't really utilize until after you've beaten the game, but let me show you some general combat strategies you can use. So one thing I really, really like, and you've probably seen me do a lot in my videos, is use the running attack. The running attack is just so good. Like, the momentum you get off it is so effective, and then you can jump cancel into the rising attack and launch the enemy so that you basically get a little combo setup going on here. So really, really, really strong stuff. So let's say running attack into that, running attack again, and you can kind of loop that into an infinite in a way. It's so strong. If you've watched like any of my videos, you've probably seen me just like spam this hardcore. It's such a strong way to just stagger enemies and get like fast mobile hits in. And then of course, I'm not using spectral attacks right now, but you can always be mixing your spectral attacks into this. Really cool stuff. So that's pretty much it. The strategies are pretty straightforward, I would say. Also, let me actually go back out and look at the campaign thing so I can sort of explain one more thing that can help you if you're trying to get through the campaign. Let's see, how do I get out of here? Abort. And I'll probably make more specific guides after this. I just wanted to get like a more general guide out. But I'll probably actually make a technical mode guide, like specifically for technical mode. And then maybe I'll make some weapon guides as well. But most likely I'll probably be waiting for the first batch of updates when we get the new weapon and some new stuff going on, just to see what they add or change to the game. Because it could be possible that a lot of guides become outdated soon based on what they decide to add. Alright, so let's get up to the quest board. Okay, so this is a pretty straightforward thing that they mentioned, but it's also just really important. I think it's easy to forget about this. But each area has an elemental affinity. So there's an element that for your weapons, so if you have a weapon that's like ice in the volcanic area, you're going to deal increased damage. If you have armor that's fire resistant, then you're going to be able to be more durable. So this is also one thing you can consider once you get further into the campaign, and if you feel like it's becoming really difficult, you can always consider trying to equip stuff that has the elemental resistance and affinities. This can definitely help a lot. But of course you want to equip stuff that's high power level as well. So highest power level stuff you have that covers those affinities will be a pretty big deal in terms of clearing the campaign. I tend to use it when I can, when I'm grinding post game, but like I said, I focus on the power level more than I do what the gear actually has. But it is something that might help you through the campaign. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, just leave a comment below. Thank you all for watching. Peace.